Yo, I'm back, rocking the alopecia fade, not giving a fuck. Whiskey Sick Podcast, episode number 154. All up in your motherfucking ass. Hit them with that theme music.
I'm about to slay. Got my cake bomb with some napalm. Shots your days gone, then the game's on. What you play, huh? Hard to get. I'll be wet for all that dry hate. Looking my way while your eyes say you and I may get off like a right lane, but I might strain. Pull up lane with a migraine.
Welcome to the Whiskey Sick Podcast, episode number 154. All up in your ass. Listen, if you're new to the cast, welcome. There's no rhyme or reason to this podcast. It's just a free form, freestyling, Biggie on the corner, go with the flow, no structure at all. Podcast. I'm gonna be all over the motherfucking place. Today, tomorrow, next week, next year, it don't matter. The podcast ain't going nowhere. We 154 episodes deep. I'm still learning where to look at on the camera. I just started the YouTube channel here a couple weeks ago. This is the third episode on YouTube. I have one way back in the day. We rocking about 6 viewers right now. About as many people as watching the Oscars before Chris Rock got his motherfucking ass slapped up by Will Smith. Oh, you know we're gonna get into that shit. You're probably tired of hearing that shit already, but we're gonna get up into that. As a man who suffers from alopecia himself, you know, highly offended by what Chris Rock said. If I could have got up and slapped the shit out of him, I would have. Nah, fuck all that. Let's just fucking get into it. We got Will Smith. We got fights last week. I went 6-6. Golden picks weren't so golden last week. They were pretty much pewter, bronze, some average ass shit. It was average. Listen, it was a struggle. I took Daukaus. I don't know I let myself get talked out of it listening to the pundits. I never listened to the pundits, but I did last week. It talked me out of my motherfucking pick. Nothing this week. We got UFC 273 next week, so I'll talk about that shit next week. Pellies are eating ass. Ziliqa, Zilly to a milli is eating ass right now. A little crypto for that ass a little later. What the fuck else? What did I do with my little list? I got a little list and shit. We'll figure it out as we go along. Let's get into this Will Smith fiasco. Homies were blowing me up. Nobody saw this shit live. Everybody saw this shit on like Twitter or Instagram, you know, after it happened, basically. I mean, by the time I heard it, I turned to the Oscars, this shit's over. I mean, this motherfucker's crying on stage and shit. And I was like, what? Didn't he just slap somebody and he's fucking crying? So I didn't know what the fuck was going on. Then you see the video and it was all edited. And then you see after. Listen, I'll go on record. I don't give a fuck. I think that shit was staged. I saw it from that slap is the softest motherfucker. I don't know what's more embarrassing. Getting slapped like that or slapping like that. I mean, that shit was so it's so soft. I mean, it was some bullshit. Shout out to Mob D, by the way. Mob Dizzle. Blood money up in that bitch. Blood money up in that bitch. Shout out to P. R.I.P. But that slap was so it was I don't know, man. It was definitely a Hollywood slap. It was like a dueling slap. It was like, I challenge you to a duel, motherfucker. Bap! Just like that shit. Will Smith ain't surviving in the first fucking round. He's a 16 seed in one of those slap contests you see on motherfuckers getting knocked out. They're like just sitting here taking each other and they're slapping the shit out of each other back and forth. He's in the play-in tournament. Will Smith. He's barely in the play-in tournament, pulling up the 10 seed, trying to win that play-in tournament game to get in the slap tournament. Because that shit was soft as a motherfucker. You got a skinny ass motherfucking Chris Rock just being boom, literally turning the other cheek, don't give a fuck. He's like, what the fuck was that? He said he got the shit slapped out of him, but the shit was still in him. I mean, the shit didn't go nowhere. It didn't come out of him because there wasn't enough. It was a soft ass slap to begin with. He's smiling as he turns around. Chris Rock is initially smiling. This motherfucker Will Smith was laughing at the motherfucking joke about a second ago. 10 seconds ago, shit was sweet. Then all of a sudden, Jada gives him the look, and shit ain't sweet no more. It's actually quite bitter. And he goes up there on his little march. You know, the couple things that made me think that it could be real. Chris Rock does look a little stunned afterwards for a second there. He's trying to figure out where to go. You know, what do I do now? Do I just continue on with the show? Do I, you know, that little confusion after he says his whole, Will Smith just slapped the shit out of me. You know, he played that shit off real well, and he kept going. So I'm like, dude, he's not, this isn't shit. And then Will Smith starts yelling, and they're like, that kind of at first got me to think it was real, but that looks like he's performing in a movie. Like, it almost doesn't even look, that doesn't look real to me. It looks like he's acting. Now, maybe, you know, I'm sure those lines between, you know, acting and real life blur now. When this is your whole life and you live your whole life basically making a living in fucking Wonderland, fucking make-believe lands. I mean, you play make-believe and dress up for a fucking living. So maybe all these things, I'm sure he uses those acting skills all the time in his regular life. Pretending like he gives a fuck about this, pretending like he gives a fuck about that. You know, not giving a fuck about his old lady getting tagged up by his son's homie. You know, pretending that that's all cool. I mean, that's some high level. That's Oscar. That's what he should have won the Oscar for. Pretending like he don't give a fuck his old lady is getting smashed out by his motherfucking son's homie. Homie used to come over for fucking snack packs and fucking Capri Suns ecto coolers and shit. Now he's fucking clapping your old lady's cheeks. That's hard to process. And if you little son, your homie's giving it to your mammy better than your pappy was. How do you reconcile that shit? So shit was all jumbled up, right? There's a lot of shit going on there. So I'm thinking, if he can pretend all this time, his wife going on TV, on these whack-ass podcasts that ain't shit compared to the Whiskey Sick podcast, if he can do all this shit and pretend shit's sweet the whole time, why can't he pretend like he's angry at the Oscars and go up there and fucking fake slap, fucking dual slap Chris Rock, and then sit there from his chair and scream like a maniac? It looked like a performance to me, all around. Could it have been a situation where, I'm gonna just grab the fucking mic over here, man. Could it have been a situation where, one, it was like maybe an act on Will's part, but not so much on Chris Rock's part? Would it have to take both of them in on it? Yeah, I mean, he could have been acting, Will Smith could have been acting angry when he really wasn't, and just used it as an excuse to slap the shit out of somebody. And Chris Rock was like, what the fuck? I don't know. The way Chris Rock initially reacted, it looked like shit was okay. Shit was funny. It didn't even look like it hit him. The sound of it was off. Maybe that's because the microphone's got, his microphone's on him somewhere, and the microphone kind of, took the slap away. But it just looked phony to me. It almost looks like he kind of misses him. I don't know. There's no, I mean, he's just, it just looked phony to me. And the joke, I thought the shit was like a compliment. What does it say about Demi Moore that you're offended that somebody would say your wife would play a role that Demi Moore played, which is the role of a strong woman in the military going through all sorts of shit. Now, I don't remember G.I. Jane that much. I know it's come on TV. I've seen it over the years, bits and pieces and parts of it. So I don't remember the whole thing. But I remember it being a badass chick pushing through like boot camp and shit and putting up with all this nonsense on the side. I thought it was like a positive, strong woman's role. So saying another strong woman could play a new version of it or a second one was a fucking compliment to me. As far as I've ever known, since back when Tupac was clapping them motherfucking cheeks, she's had short hair like that. Now, we all, us alopecia sufferers, know how quickly the motherfucking hair goes, how early in life. So I'm sure, this started happening. Now, I'm not saying you know, it's not something to deal with, especially for a woman. Women going bald is different than dudes going bald, right? We're expected to do that shit. Women, it's a lot harder for them because it's a lot more about beauty and shit like that. Appearances with ladies, you know what I mean? So, I get that. Could it be a mental hurdle? Yeah, she's been doing it with it for a long fucking time. But calling it a fucking health condition, it does not. It's a fucking. It's a health term. It's not a motherfucking condition. It ain't a fucking problem. You ain't fucking gonna die from alopecia. You get up in the morning and your head's a little cold. That's it. That's the only thing that fucking happens. During the winter, it gets a little cold. During the summer, you gotta put some fucking suntan lotion on that shit because you'll get burned the fuck up. So from that standpoint, okay, it's a fucking term for male pattern baldness. That's what the fuck it is. She didn't have motherfucking titty cancer. She didn't have motherfucking titty cancer and get surgery and have them chopped off and shit and fucking, you know, Chris Rock's over here telling jokes about having her titties hanging over his fucking mantle or some shit on some Bill the Butcher type shit. Or wearing them around the house like a little titty vest like fucking Leatherface or some shit. He wasn't saying all that shit about her having titty cancer or something. She has male pattern baldness. A lot of ladies do. It's where you can wear wigs, you can get weaves, you can do a whole lot of shit. You can picture a homie like me putting motherfucking wigs on, toupees, weaves and shit. I can't do that. So this shit ain't a fucking, you ain't dying from alopecia. It's a mental block for you could get over that you've been dealing with for a long time. As far as I've ever known who the fuck Jada Pinkett Smith is, or Jada Pinkett before she was the Smith, she was getting clapped up by motherfucking Thug Life across the belly. She's had that short hair. Was it just last Saturday that she became like fucking offended by a mild ass joke that really wasn't a joke, that was an actual compliment? She's so fucked up she can't even take a compliment on her short hair? I don't know. Shit was weak all around. But best believe, it wasn't the motherfucking joke that set Will Smith off. It was all the cucking. This was all the cucking coming to a head on national TV. All that cucking. The worst thing, I can't think of a worse thing for a man to be identified with, called something to represent other, worse thing, cucking. If you don't know what cucking is, it means I'm chilling out in the corner of a fucking Motel 6, my fucking little dong in my hand, warming myself up, getting my own self off, while somebody claps my old lady's cheeks in the same room while I watch. That's cucking. That's being a cuck. You're a fucking cuck. That's the worst thing you can be called as a fucking man. You watch other dudes fuck your old lady. You go to Applebee's and let dudes hit on your old lady at motherfucking happy hour and shit, and then go home and clap her up in a snooty fox somewhere while you sit in the fucking corner. That's the worst motherfucking thing you could be identified with. That's the worst thing. And then you have to pretend like you're cool with it after she put you on blast for being a motherfucking cuck. Now, I don't know that Will Smith has ever actually been in the same room while his son's best homie, one of his homies, I don't know if they're best homies, maybe not anymore, maybe they still are, I don't know, is clapping your old lady's cheeks. I don't know for sure he participated in it at that level. But whether you were filming Serena Williams' dad, or you were out filming fucking I don't even remember a lot of World War Z. No, he wasn't in World War Z. I Am Legend, solid book, by the way. It's a novella, actually. It's a short story collection, which I Am Legend is in. Matheson, Robert Matheson, something much different than the movie. Great movie, by the way. But where the fuck was I going? Anyways, the worst thing you could be called is a motherfucker. I forgot where I was going with this. The worst thing you could be called is a motherfucking cock or a cuck, a cucking cock. You don't want to be that shit. You know, your old lady's getting tugged out by your motherfucking your best homie, your son's best homie. That's never a good look. That's the worst thing you could be called. And then your old ladies on TV, on these podcasts, putting you on blast. She was flat out saying, I seen this shit on clips and stuff when the entanglement shit first started. She's talking about Will can't do it for her no more. Can't get her off no more. Doesn't excite her no more. So they had an open marriage, open agreements. They could see other people. And she goes to her son's homie to get clapped up, who I think she helped like get out of addiction or some shit. So, you know, it's all fucking weird. So this whole family, that whole entanglement shit, that's when you knew shit was all fucked up. You knew these people were on some other shit. That's the first time I took a step back. I love Will Smith. I've always loved Will Smith. This hurt me to see Will Smith go out like this. And then to go on TV and do these interviews and pretend like, oh, entanglement, it's fine, you know. And have to sit there. Imagine. You cucking so hard. Your cuck game is so strong that, or this lady has such a hold on you that you have to sit there and pretend that you like this shit just so you can stay with her. This is why when you get into like swingers and you get into cucking, all these kind of weird fucking threesome shit, when you're bringing other people into the mix of your relationship, this is why there's always, you can rest assured, most times there's always one person in that situation that doesn't really want that and is only going along because the other side wants that, and they're afraid if they don't give them that, they won't have that person anymore. That person will go away. They're just trying to appease that person by letting them do this shit. And then trying to rectify it, to make sure, doing some Simone Biles mental gymnastics in their head to try to justify it and make it okay with themselves. That's what this motherfucker Will Smith has been dealing with. This shit's out in public that he's getting cucked. And all the memes and all that shit is out there. So, you know, he's extra sensitive. This old lady gives him the fucking look of death. And he's like, oh shit, I gotta do something. That could be the truth. That could be possible. I'm not 100% sure that this thing was fake. I'm leaning that way. But for the sake of this argument and shit, we'll assume it was real. And examining it from all angles and shit like that. But that shit, you know, that's what it came to head. It was all these months of being a fucking cuck, being called a cuck, and all the, you know, if this is what Will Smith does in March, what would he do in August? You know, shit like that. All these memes, all these little fucking one-liners. Everybody's a comedian now. I'll tell you what you just did though, Will Smith. You just put a motherfucking target on your back. If you haven't seen Flagrant 2 with Andrew Schultz, he did a little, you know, like 2-3 minute roast to kick things off on Will Smith. These motherfucking these comedians are coming for you now, dude. They're coming for the last thing you wanted to do was fucking piss off these comedians. They're gonna come for you. There's no limits now. The gloves are off. This is BKFC. This is bare knuckle fucking scrapping. This is Masvidal in the backyard type shit now. That's what's gonna go down now. Some Kimbo Slice, beating up bus drivers, raw ass shit is coming your way. You fucked with the wrong people. And all these shitty ass, shit-lib ass, liberal ass, fucking elite liberal ass motherfuckers talking about Dave Chappelle should be next and all this shit. Cause they're virtue signaling about their trans fucking cheerleading and all this fucking shit. It's just fucking sad, man. It's sad. The hypocrisy of these shit libs, elite shit libs out here, fucking justifying it. You see, these assholes are even trying to say it was Trump's fault. It's fucking white supremacy rearing its ugly head. Look at these motherfuckers. Look at these mainstream people. If you need to any more further justification that these people lie to you and gaslight you about every fucking thing, look at how these people are handling this shit. The Oscars just lets him chill there. Now, yesterday they came out and said some shit about they asked him to leave and he refused to. Listen, if they ask you to leave a fucking plane and you refuse to, they go get help and drag your ass off the motherfucking plane. Drag his motherfucking ass off that bitch. Are you telling me there's no real men in that whole Oscar crowd that go up there and drag motherfucking Will Smith out there? Out that motherfucking bitch? Put Seth Geko in that fucking audience. I don't know how I'd get there. Maybe for this episode. Maybe I'll be nominated for this episode. No fucking way I let that shit slide. As soon as I figured out it wasn't real, that it wasn't fake, I'd have been like, I'd have been calling this motherfucker out in the middle of his bullshit ass speech. That was the worst part. This motherfucker wins 10 minutes later, wins a goddamn award, and then starts talking about how he loves people and he's just trying to help people and he's all about love and all this shit, and he's crying and shit, and it's like, you're none of that. Homie, we just saw you not be any of that. You know what I mean? We just saw you. Like just. So it was the most like narcissistic, fucking weird, detached fucking speech I've ever seen. And I guess that was his first Oscar. I didn't even know that shit, but whatever. And he ruins it like that with some bullshit ass fucking speech and some shit, man. Like, it was fucking weird. The last 2 years have been you see your heroes fucking crumble in times of crisis. These last 2 years, you really see the shit-lib fucking virtue signaling fucking, establishment elite propaganda pushers really come to forefront. And I've seen some of my favorite people just collapse and lose all respect. I lose all respect for him. Number one, Howard Stern, calling for the death of fucking unvaccinated people and just being a sorry-ass motherfucking excuse for a human being. After I've watched this dude since the 90s on the E! Show, I have Sirius XM. I bought before he even got to Sirius XM. So I've been literally his whole Sirius XM career. I've been rolling with him. I love Howard Stern. Love the Howard Stern Show. But since COVID, and more specifically when the vaccines and shit came out, and he went on this whole fucking propaganda, fucking divisive bullshit, fucking virtue signaling, just scared cuckery. I lost all respect for him. I haven't been able to listen to the show. I've tried to tune in here and there, and it's just not the same. And now I see the same shit with this dude, Will Smith. This dude is just another detached, narcissistic, Hollywood liberal elite fucking bullshitter. That's all. Now they all are. Chris Rock could be the same fucking thing. He could be the same fucking thing. You see some of the ones that aren't. Rob Schneider. I don't know who the fuck is that. I know he hasn't been relevant in a long time. Maybe that's why he speaks out about a bunch of shit. But it's the same reason why you see every single Hollywood person have the exact same down the middle take on every single cultural issue. Oh, and any single, it was a fucking Ukraine Oscars. What the fuck? They all have the exact same mission. Meanwhile, it says sponsored to you by Pfizer the whole fucking time there. It was a whole Hey, what's up, little dude? You getting in here? Did you see this little man? Little man cruising, say hi. The future triple quadruple champ. We don't know what the weight classes are going to be. He's saying hello. Don't know where I was going. Lost the train of thought. I'm blazed. You know how it is. It's already 9:30 a.m. You know how I've been high fucking twice over. But it was a crazy little scenario, man. So, he gets his award. Now they're saying they might take it away because they asked him to leave, but he refused. You got to drag that motherfucker out of there. That's what you have security for. To drag that motherfucker out of there. You can't let him go slap up a dude and just let him chill in there like nothing's at. And then, like, he's getting dapped up by Denzel Washington and Samuel L. Jackson's acting like he's his closest homie and all this shit. And somebody's telling a joke about him, and Will Smith sitting there, this is after the incident, and he's sitting there like, ha ha ha, he's like overacting about everything, trying to play all this shit off. So maybe it was real. I don't fucking know. It didn't look real to me though. But if it was real, he's over there trying to play it off, and they're just letting him sit there. And how are you somebody sitting around there? Are you a fucking man? And not go over there and say some shit to him. Or tell him to get the fuck off the stage in the middle of his goddamn... Where the fuck is Kanye West when you need him? To come up on that motherfucking stage, snatch that mic, snatch that motherfucking Oscar, toss that shit. If I was the person presenting and I had the Oscar in my hand to hand that shit to Will, I would have fucking just tossed it on the ground and made him pick that motherfucking shit up. I don't give a fuck. Fuck that shit. You ain't gonna come up here on some fucking weak ass joke, getting sensitive and slap a man in front of me like that, you get no respect. And if it's on after that, it's on after that. Now, Chris Rock, you get the formal Thunderdome invitation. We got to help your fucking stand up, son. That was the most telegraphed thing. As soon as you see somebody pull that shoulder, first of all, Will Smith, let's take this let's break this down. Technically, Will Smith strikes from a completely square position. Watch his feet. They square straight up. They're right in line with each other. His shoulders are lined up with each other. There's no power in this slap. You can't strike like that. You can't. When you see a fighter come square, it's usually when they're stringing combinations together. Their back leg usually trails up and they come square. They're a huge open target and they lose in their power. Now they have to arm strike, right? So this motherfucker's got to use all arm to fucking swing. He pulls. As soon as that shoulder comes, the shoulder that comes back is the hand that's coming at you, right? They're pulling back. You know it's coming at you. You're not going to see somebody do it and boop, they're on that Manny Pacquiao shit in the middle of the Oscar stage and shit. That's not going to happen. He pulls back. We're slipping. We're moving. We're sliding back. Counter right hand. But before he even gets there, rule number one of any street fight situation, never let anybody get in your motherfucking face. You will get sucker punched. Just like Chris Rock got sucker slapped. Chael Sonnen, I can't let you get close. If you take another step forward, I'm going to assume a fight has started and go from there. They take another step, it's on. You just come to grips with the reality that you're in a motherfucking fight and you go for it. Remember that shit on The Ultimate Fighter when it was him and Vanderlei and they're getting into that scrap. Chael's wearing flip-flops. And this motherfucker Vanderlei was wild that whole season. Go back and watch that season. That was one of my favorite seasons. And he gets in Chael's face, and Chael fucking pushes him away. And he says, I can't let you get in my face. You never let somebody get in your face. You don't argue with somebody nose to nose within arguing range. You keep you at a distance. You get these hands out in front. Well, hey, homie, you ain't getting fucking boom. Now you keep him back. Now he takes another step towards you. It's on and popping. We swinging. Chael goes and shoots the double leg. Gets on top, and you know the rest. He was ready. That's how you have to approach this. I got my man, Chris Rock. Where's the teep? I got to get that teep, that rear leg teep, that front leg teep. It doesn't matter. The front leg teep I would have actually gone with that. You can get more power, obviously, with the back leg, but that front leg comes out of nowhere. You catch him right there in his chest, right in his sternum, push him back. He's gonna fall. He's gonna look like an asshole. He ain't storing. I get it. Chris Rock was probably like, oh, this is, a joke. He's going to come up here and make a little joke on the mic or pretend to do something to me like he's offended or something. It's part of the show. But nah, son. He's got that little, that Hollywood, he's on the set, walk coming at. Nah, man. Boom. I'm giving you that fucking teep. I'm giving you that teep. I can't let you get close to me. That's all you should have heard from Chris Rock. The teep kick. I can't let you get close to me, Will. I can't let you get close to me. If you take another step, I'm going to assume a fight started. He takes a step. We teach that double leg. Change level, shoot right through him, drive through him. Maybe you go off the end of the stage. I don't know. Fuck it. At that point, it's a melee now. We in the stands and we getting all eyes on me. It's the fucking greatest Oscars of all time, right? It probably was anyways, without all this. But rule number one in a confrontation like that, never let somebody get in your motherfucking face. They'll sucker punch you. You can knock anybody out if they don't know it's coming. Anybody. And number two, be first. Be first, be often. That's all you need. Fuck dust, Detroit, urban, tactics, whatever the fuck. I'll fuck his whole shit up with this one piece of advice. Be first, be often. That's it. We printing them shits on fucking throw pillows and putting them in Pier 1 instead of laugh, love, pray, or laugh, love, live. Be first, be often. Throw pillows, hand towels, the ones you can't use, the for pretty towels that you can't use. Your old lady yells at you when you use that shit. Be first, be often. Who's making the shirts? Be first, be often. I can't let you get close on the back of it. Let's roll. Let's go 50-50 on this shit. Let's slang these shits. Can't let these motherfuckers get in your motherfucking face. So that's where we would have gone off. That's where we need to go with Chris Rock. You are welcome to the Thunderdome. We'll teach you that push kick. We'll teach you that teep. We teach you the level change. We teach you with 2 hands to the chest, just like a chest pass in basketball, right in the shoulder blades, right between there. So you get that. That's what you want. You don't want to hit them in the shoulders. You can just throw those off. You get them right. Ooh, you get them right in that. Ooh, get them right in that motherfucking chest and let them know. You get right up in that chest, you let them know. True story. Where I put this in the practice. Me and my lady got engaged before we got married. When we got engaged, we take the photos, the engagement photos, and we went to Balboa Park. I was gonna say Belmont Park. That's the roller coaster spot. I'm in Dago, bitch, California. Sandy, Lego on my motherfucking ego, you bitch. California. So I was in, we were in Balboa Park taking these pictures and shit, and she hired my wife hired a professional photographer that we've used, a homie we've used for a lot of things, and she's wearing this backpack and she's got all her cameras and stuff hanging out of this shit, and we're over there by these steps taking pictures and shit, and I see this bum. He's been eyeing us and shit. I'm keeping my eyes on him, taking a picture. He comes in the middle of our picture taking and tries to steal old lady's camera out of her backpack. He grabs on it and tugs on it, but it doesn't come out. And then I step forward. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy doing? What are you doing? And he gets all scared and he starts walking into my face and starts talking shit, faded. I don't know what the fuck he is. He starts coming for me. So I meet him halfway. I don't need no more invitation. And as soon as we get within range, 2 to the chest. Boop. Homie goes tumbling down the motherfucking stairs, almost breaks his goddamn neck. He's all fucked up in the game. He gets up, takes him 3 minutes to get up. He starts talking mad shit to me that he's gonna go get his son from somewhere, and they're gonna cut me up, and they're gonna do all this shit. He gets up and starts coming back towards me. So I got the rear leg push kick ready to the fucking face. And at the last second, he decides he don't want none, and he turns around and starts walking away, and then he stands off in the corner and starts screaming and yelling and shit. But that was the next step. The next step was you getting the teep to the motherfucking face, because he was pretty short. Taller people, you probably want to aim that to the sternum. If you can get that to the throat, you can get that to the chin. The push kick to the face is an ender. Now, I don't know if I would have gone straight up snap kick and just. I think I would have just gone push kick straight to just put him down like that. So I've used these techniques. Ask, my wife, she'll contest, and we still use this photographer. We've used her for all sorts of shit. Other family, my in-laws use her, and every time she's always bringing this up. She tells her clients. She's like, I always tell my clients this story how about some dude tried to steal my camera, and then my client came over here and threw the guy on the ground, and it's crazy, but it works. Thunderdome tactics. Man, 32 minutes. I just talked about Chris Rock and Will Smith for 32 minutes. There you go. There's no more in-depth analysis. I went into technical analysis on this. This is the end-all, be-all. Hold your head, Will Smith, because they coming for you, son. They coming for you now. I can't wait. Every special on Netflix is going to have kickoff with Will Smith jokes now. They're coming. They just showed that Chris Rock's tours shot up 60% or some shit. All of a sudden selling out and shit. You didn't hurt him none. You fucked yourself up. If that shit was all, well, even if it was fake, you still fucked your own shit up. I don't know. What else do we got? Zilly. Have you guys seen this? Ziliqa. I've been buying the Zilly. I'm not crazy in the crypto. My homie Rodney, he's got the my crypto journey. Man, I forgot to look at the name of it. Sorry, Rodney. I'm gonna get it for the next one, but you gotta check him out. No, I dabble in a few coins. I got Cardano. Got some Cardano. I'm not big into it. I got $100 here, $200 there. I think most I got's $300. I got some Doge. Just in case, whatever. I'm not planning to make a $1 million off of it. But I got some Cardano. I got Ziliqa. Ziliqa is. I've had it for a long time. It's done nothing. I bought it at 7 cents, long time, almost a year ago probably, and it's just been tanking. It got up to 24 cents right after I got it, and then it just shot the shit. It got down to 1 cent again. I think I should have bought into it more. I should have. Yesterday I woke up, it was like 11 cents, and the night before it was like 3 cents. So something happened. It went from 3 cents all of a sudden, because it's been down in the dumps, to 11 cents. And then throughout the day, the Mexican, the brown Satoshi, as he calls himself, Ivanito, Whiskey Sick podcast watcher extraordinaire, Stan extraordinaire. I get a little bit of advice from him. He's heavy in this game. He's telling me that they're making their own metaverse that they're introducing. It's called Metropolis or something like that, but it's a Ziliqa NFT or something. Metaverse. I don't know this shit. All right, I know nothing about that shit. That's the next evolution of Seth Geko, to figure all that stuff out. So they got something dropping. He's saying until April 2nd, 3rd, it's gonna keep rocketing up. It got as high as 21 cents yesterday. So it went from 3 to 21 cents. So I'm like, woo! I made a couple $100 yesterday. It's down to 18, but still, if you take over from where it was, 24 hours ago, from 3 to 18, big jump. Keeping an eye on it. Who knows? Maybe it turns into a biddy, and 10 years later, one Ziliqa's worth $64,000, some shit like that. I think Bitcoin's gone up. I think it's around 47 right now, 48 last time I checked. Usually the whole market goes wherever Bitcoin goes. I need to get some Ethereum. I need to get some Bitcoin. I don't have Bitcoin. I need to start putting away and maybe a little Bitcoin. I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs, but Zilly to a milli is what we're doing here. The homie, the brown Satoshi over here, saying that he's expecting 50 cents by the end of the year. Maybe in a year or two we're talking about $1. So I'll take all that. That's kind of like a Cardano, an ADA, or an Ethereum or some shit like that. So I'm rocking like that. We keeping our eye on it. Get your ass in on that Ziliqa. They've been making moves. They're sponsored by. They got sponsors for the NFL. They were making all sorts of moves this past summer. I didn't see any benefits from it. I mean, the shit was still tanked, but maybe now it's all coming to fruition. Now they're putting out a metaverse. That metaverse shit is like, I think it's like virtual real estate and shit. Like in the metaverse, you can buy the house, the house next to Snoop Dogg's virtual house sold for like millions and millions of dollars. It's like crazy. You're buying shit in like virtually. You're buying assets virtually or some shit like way the fuck over my head. But apparently this is a new thing. I don't even know where to start with NFTs. I don't know what the fuck that is. I don't even know what non-fungal something. Fungal. It's some kind of fungus. It's like athlete's foot or some shit that they made virtual or some shit. I don't know. What else do we got? Fight talk. Let's go over last week's. We'll recap last week's fight card. We had Daukaus and Curtis fucking Blaydes. Listen. I went 6-6. It was ugly. It was a battle. Lost some close ones, won some close ones. The best fight of the night was Matt Brown and Brian Barberena. I had Barberena in that one. I knew it was just going to be a complete toss-up. Some people had Brown winning. I had Barberena winning the last 2 rounds. I had him. What was the difference was how the last 2 rounds ended. They ended with Matt Brown looking like he was on his way out. It looked like he was out on his feet. He was backing up, taking shots. He was kind of stumbling, kind of just not really all there. And that's a terrible way, because you're looking at the effects of all this. When you have such close rounds, you have to go with damage. Who's doing the more damage though? Yeah, maybe they're both landing the same amount at the same rate, but whose strikes are more effective? And it was Barberena's. He was taking lots of elbows, especially in the clinch. But in the second round, at the end of the round, he landed an elbow in the clinch that stunned Matt Brown and set into Barberena being able to finish the round strong. Even though I think he was taken down, I thought that was the most that closest to finishing the fight. If you're close to finishing the fight, you're usually going to win the round. And so I gave him the second round. The third round was all Barberena at the end, because it looked like, again, Matt Brown was just taking too many shots. Barberena was too, but he's just a little bit younger, a little bit less miles on him, probably like 10 years younger, a lot less miles on him. And so he was able to wear those, and he's always had a great chin. So he's been able to wear those strikes a little bit better than Matt Brown was wearing them. But I'll tell you this. That's the best Matt Brown I've seen in a long time. Barberena ain't no chump. Now, that was kind of the weakest Barberena I've seen in a while because he's usually had quicker hands, throws a lot more combos, a little more aggressive than he was. I thought at times he was allowing himself to get outworked, but he was landing the heavier shots at times, and I think that's what won it for him in that second round was he did more damage and looked like he was closer to finishing the fight twice. But Matt Brown looked soft. I mean, that's his bread and butter is in the clinch. You don't want to clinch with this dude. He's going to knee you, and he's going to hit you with those up elbows. He's going to clinch right here, throw these elbows, throw these short elbows in here. These up elbows that he comes in here, he could launch the elbow like this. He could straight up just comb the back, comb the hair, come up like that. He could throw it like that. He can cut you. He can beat you up in the clinch. But Barberena was doing good by answering back with his own elbows from the clinch against the cage. He just wasn't getting a whole lot on him until the second round. But he looked great. The biggest thing I've had with Matt Brown was that his hand speed, his physical attributes, they were looking off to me. He looked way slow in his last fights, in his last several fights. This one, I didn't really notice it. He looked good. He looked fucking good. He was aggressive. He was landing shots. He's looked as good as he's ever looked. It was fucking crazy, man. It was such a great fight. Any fighter could have won it. I would have been fine with it, but I thought Barberena did get it 2-1 on my scoreboard, on my scorecard. Who else did we have? Joanne Wood, Alexa Grasso. Listen, I told you, Joanne Woods is the Tony Romo of this shit. Any big fight, she's going to choke. And literally, she got choked. Alexa Grasso, I think that's her first submission. Her first finish, maybe, ever. Definitely in the UFC. And it wasn't nothing crazy. I mean, you get your back taken like that if you're Joanne Wood, and then you don't defend the choke. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know that win proves that Alexa Grasso needs to, fight for the title yet. That she's ready for a Shevchenko, because she's not. And honestly, if you go back to the stand-up just before it went to the ground, Joanne Wood was kind of, for the short period of time, was kind of bullying her with pressure. Teep kicks to the body, short little punches. She was kind of beating Grasso up a little bit on the feet. I know it was brief, but she was getting off. She was really pressuring Grasso, and Grasso was taking some damage. Grasso's hands, when she did let her hands go, she had that speed. She had that technical, prowess. Fuck is that word? Why even use it, dude? She had the technical advantage. She got those nice straight punches, but she takes a lot of shots. She's very straight. She's very she got a good hand guard, but there's no movement. And when she uses those kicks like she did, like I was telling you, she was using those kicks early, 1-2, throw the kick. She's at her best, but she was getting bullied with pressure. So I mean, if you look at those first couple minutes, that's how you beat Alexa Grasso. You go forward, you move her backwards. You stay in her face with combinations and volume. But she got the dub. She's maybe just because you have nobody else. After Shevchenko fights Taylor Santos, maybe she, Grasso's next. We'll see. She's gonna get smoked. Daukaus versus Blaydes. Listen, actually, the way Blaydes fought is the reason why I ended up taking Daukaus. I picked, if you watched a while ago, I accidentally did this, broke this fight down twice. The first time I picked Blaydes, and the second time I changed it to Daukaus. And I should have just stuck with Blaydes, but I would have been wrong. The reason why I chose Blaydes the first time, which was I thought he was going to take him down and just dominate him from the top position. And then the reason I switched was because I didn't trust Blaydes to do that, and I thought he might just sit there and stand and take the worst path he could do, because the only way Chris Daukaus had a chance was if Blaydes stood and stand with him. Stood up and stand it with him. Stood and stand it with him. I'm all fucked up. You know what I mean? Some fucking Biden shit over here, man. And maybe it wasn't much of a shot. Maybe when at the end of the day I underestimated Curtis Blaydes' stand-up, because he was getting better at the stand-up the entire time. But The only shot Daukaus had was in the stand-up. So you're still fighting into your opponent's strength. You don't ever want to do that. I think he could have just taken him down. So, in that first round, I actually gave Daukaus the first round because I thought he was just a little more active. The biggest shot was the right hand from Blaydes that, visibly rocked Daukaus, but it wasn't close to really finishing the fight because he didn't follow up. I thought, he just on activity alone, I'd given him the first round. But, the second round started. Listen, that is boxing, striking 101. That exchange right there. They both throw at the exact same time. The straight punch from Curtis Blaydes down the middle beat the long, wide, looping hook that Chris Daukaus threw. Straight lines. The fastest way between A to B is a straight line. Straight punches always beat round punches, and you saw it right there. And Daukaus even landed, on his way out, just like Jose Aldo did against Conor McGregor. But he got beat to the punch because they threw at the same time. Blaydes threw a straight punch. Daukaus threw a round punch. Goes to sleep. That's the end of it. I said the first time also I thought this was a little too much for Daukaus. They were throwing him into the deep end way too quick. After you saw the Lewis fight, I think we should have gone taken massive step back. Now they're talking about 205. He came in at 240 something. Now he has Daukaus has a lot of body weight, body fat. Let's be real. Could he cut down to that? I think he would have already done that if he had the discipline to be able to control his diet to do that. Can he do it? Maybe he's never tried. Maybe he's gotten away with it because he's been successful at heavyweight. Maybe this is his, Blaydes after the fight. It was a great post-fight. I thought he was dead on. I didn't think he was hating. I didn't think anything like that. When he was talking about Daukaus, he said this dude's just too small. He needs to go down to light heavyweight. He didn't really feel his power, and he just didn't really respect him in there. He knew he was going to walk through him, and he basically did. And he was just not hating. He's just saying he just needs to go down. He's just a little too small for the heavyweight weight class, and he is. I mean, you think about him against. You think about him against, most of these heavyweights, man. Tuivasa, all these dudes. That would be the top guy that, he might have a chance with just because Tuivasa is just a firefighter. This motherfucker's going to stand in the pocket and exchange, and he's throwing 50-50 combinations. I mean, he's in 50-50 exchanges every fucking fight, so you always have a chance against him. But, if he's going to stay at heavyweight, he's got to drop back down, man. I mean, homie just left his day job, and now he's on 2 L's in a row. It's a bad look. It's not good. Hopefully he left on good terms. Hopefully you gave your full 2 weeks notice and honored it so you can go back. Most places, if you don't give your 2 weeks, you can't go back. You can't go back if you don't honor your full 2 weeks when you quit. So hopefully Daukaus still got a good in with that. Because I don't know, man. He was smoking people, but now, his hands didn't even look that fast. I think a lot of it comes down to, being in the big show and just not performing under those big lights, too. I think definitely against Lewis, it got the better of him. I don't know if it was so much of a factor this time around, but it didn't look like the same dude that just goes out there. When you know you're in there with better competition, you fight with a lot different veracity. Like, when you go in there against somebody... just take it like in a daily life. If you're arguing with somebody you're smarter than and you're more informed on something than that's like your bread and butter, you have this air of confidence. You're gonna destroy them. But if you get into like fucking nuclear fission or some shit in an argument with a scientist, you're like, oh, you're timid and scared. It's the same shit. When you're fighting Parker Porter. You roll up in there like you the motherfucking man and you put hands on him. But when you rolled up in there against Lewis, you're kind of like, because you know who he is. And you let that you didn't fight with the same mentality, the same confidence that you did in those other fights because whatever reason. So that's a lot of it. If he goes in there and approaches those 2 fights the way he's approached every other scrub he's fought, the Shamil fight and all these other fights, maybe it's just a different mentality when you go in there. Fuck it, just throw shit. I mean, look, when you don't throw shit against the wall, when you don't just go balls to the wall and risk everything, you still get knocked out. So why not just throw everything, throw all the shit against the wall, And if you get knocked out, well, fuck it. At least you threw everything you had at it. That's always the best plan. Askar Askarov versus Kai Kara France. I had Askarov winning the fight. I thought he won the last 2 rounds. Or was it the first round? First round and the last round, I think it was. I can't even remember. Now, you're saying the last round. Listen, that could have gone to either one of them. I'm not saying this was a robbery at all. Kai Kara France did absolutely nothing in that round. I don't even think he landed anything. Actually, what's his face? Askar Askarov was doing a good job of sliding just out of the way of his strikes in that round. He was doing a good job of staying out of range. And you're like, well, what the fuck did Askar Askarov do? Nothing, not really. He did have him up against the cage. He did take his back briefly. He did hold him up against the cage a couple times. When you have 2 guys that don't land anything or throw anything, you got to take what little you have. And that was really the difference in that round. Askar Askarov was going forward a little bit more than Kai Kara France was in that last round. I thought he won the fight. I thought he won that last round because, and Kai Kara France would have had nobody but himself to be mad at, because why didn't he approach the 3rd round like he did the 2nd round? That's right, the 2nd round Kai Kara France won because he was bombing. He was picking Askarov apart. It got to a point where you're like, Askar is not a takedown threat anymore. He's a threat to hold you up against the cage and milk points and milk time off the clock, but he's not really a threat to take you down anymore. And he proved that because Kai Kara France was boxing him up in that 2nd round. Looked like he might even be able to land something to get him out of there. And then he comes out completely passive in the 3rd round. Instead of taking that same momentum and getting in his face, you saw this guy cannot stand with you if you move him backwards. And he was too terrified of giving up that takedown. You give up the takedown in the 3rd round, can't get back to your feet, it's over, right? So maybe in the end it worked for him, but I thought you go in there, you make a statement. I thought he could have finished Askar Askarov. I told y'all, when it came to the betting, he's a fucking as live a dog as you could get. I think he was like plus 160 or something like that. What did he finish as? Plus 340. I think I had him as he was plus 2 something. As a steal. I told y'all, it's a steal. Of course he had a chance in that fight. If it was all standing, I thought Askar Askarov, you saw in the 1st round, he took his back. I thought, oh man, it's over right away. You're like, this is why I took Askar Askarov, because he gets you to the ground and it's over. But his takedowns got less and less effective as the fight went on, and that's always the problem when you have wrestlers like that, is what happens when they can't get it to the ground. And you may have never seen him fight where they couldn't get it to the ground, but maybe this is that guy, and he ran into that guy, Kai Kara France, who he couldn't get to the ground anymore. I can't remember if the Moreno fight, how he did with Moreno. So big setback for Askar Askarov. Kai Kara France, now Davison Figueiredo saying he doesn't want to fight Moreno for a 4th time. He wants to fight Kai Kara France. Best believe that's because he thinks Kai Kara France is an easier target than Brandon Moreno, a guy he's fought 3 times and lost to once. Could have lost to him a second time. Very close fight. I did have Davison Figueiredo winning that fight too. But it was a good fight. It was a good fight, but I see Davison thinking that he has an easier opponent in Kai Kara France. Neil Magny, Max Griffin, told y'all those dudes were the 2 same fucking guys. Max came out on fire and then he teetered and fell off, and Neil Magny just outpointed him. Mark DeCasey beat Borshev, Vyacheslav, Borshev to round out the main card. Listen, Borshev, how do you train at motherfucking Team Alpha Male and have 0 fucking ground game? 0. This motherfucker was a fucking victim out there. He was a crime scene chalk outline. He was a fucking a life alert victim out there. This motherfucker had the fucking rigor mortis guard going on. He was moving like rigor mortis from his back. I mean, it was ugly. You got out wrestled, out grappled by a kickboxer. With no offense to DeCasey, I mean he's such a bad. I thought he was going to have a chance on the feet. I picked Borshev, but those takedowns weren't great. Those weren't anything that is going to put fear in the heart of anybody in that division, right? Those are probably the last times you'll ever see him even attempt a fucking takedown. But it worked. I mean, this dude Borshev, I don't know how you get to the UFC coming up through Team Alpha Male and have 0. With all those wrestlers, you have 0 grappling? None. There was none. This dude got taken down. He looked like a fucking infant on his back. He looked like he was doing the fucking doggy paddle upside down and shit. I mean, it was fucking bad. It was fucking bad. And you see that right away. And a guy you picked, and you're like, fuck. You know, right off the bat, it's an L. As soon as he got taken down, he actually defended well early in the first round. But as soon as he got taken down, you're like, oh, this fucking guy can't get up from Mark DeCasey's top game. Bad news bears written all over that one. So, don't remember much of the prelims, but let's see. Who did we have? Sarah McMahon, Chris Gutierrez, Bada Gurriel. I thought Dana was doing great, looking great. I had him winning, and then, you know, the fucking spinning back fist. This dude, Chris Gutierrez, just keeps winning, man. He always worries me. The only reason I didn't pick him is his output. He lets people steal rounds from him. It scared me. It worried me against Dana, who you saw, as soon as he got the fight to the ground in the first round, he was beating the dog shit out of Chris Gutierrez. It looked like if there was 15, 20 seconds left in that round, he finishes Gutierrez in the first round. So you're thinking all he has to do is get him back to the ground. I'm looking good. Everybody else took Gutierrez. I took Dana. I'm feeling good going into that second round, and then he just walks into a spinning back fist. Why? Because he was following Gutierrez around the fucking cage like a little fucking puppy dog. Just wherever he went, just following him, just following him, just following him, just following him. You got to cut the motherfucking cage off him. And then he just starts telegraphing the right hand. You got to set the right hand up. I know that's the Widowmaker, but you got to set that thing up. Aliashkab Kiara, he had a tough little test. He didn't look great, but he in that first round, but he got the dub. Jennifer Maia, Manon Fiorot. I love Manon Fiorot. Manon Fiorot. She got a little bit of mix of that Holly Holm, Michelle Watterson type scrap in her. Good fight, not great. She's not going to be able to pull that kind of game plan off against Valentina. Another person just going to be a little behind Valentina Shevchenko. But I'd kind of actually like to see her fight Valentina Shevchenko than somebody like Grasso. I think, I don't think Fioro's even close to being ready for that. I think you need to give her some more fights. But if I had to pick one, I think she had a slightly better chance. She's got some decent, strikes. Her hands are really good. Little hittable, too hittable. Jennifer Maia was landing that big right hand. She figured out if you pressure her with that big right hand, she could score. But she got the win. She got the win against somebody who's fought for the title. So it was a big dub for her. Matthias Nicolau versus David Dvorak. Got that one completely wrong. I knew Nicolau was a little hooker. And I don't mean like streetwalker. I just mean throwing fucking nasty hooks all the time. Dvorak usually is a little more aggressive than that. It's a pretty solid kickbox. Got decent ground game. I thought he was going to be an all-around better fighter and just be able to, pick him apart from the outside. He did nothing. When you pick a fighter and you see him go out there and just stand around and not throw any strikes, neither of them did shit in the first round. But, in the second and the third, and they're just not letting their hands go. It's just a fucking helpless feeling. And that's what happened. And he started getting, boxed up, and it was downhill from there. Luis Saldana got one out by the skin of his motherfucking cheeks. So that's that. Full recap on that shit. We'll do UFC 273, Volkanovski versus the Zombie. The Zombie, I don't know what the fuck he's doing with this fight right now. If Max had Max dropped it, it was originally going to be the Max rematch. Max had to drop the fight. Yair Rodriguez, that would have been the fight. And listen, if I'm Volkanovski, who would I rather fight? Korean Zombie, flat-footed now Korean Zombie, the new Korean Zombie, or a dude like Yair who came out and gave Max Holloway all he could fucking handle? A firecracker like that. Yeah, I'd probably take the Korean Zombie too. I think this is a tailor-made fight. He picked if Volkanovski was picking his opponents, he picked the one that probably he has the best chance to just completely dominate. I would even like the rematch with Ortega better than this shit, to be honest, because remember, I just watched the fight a couple nights ago. Ortega came back after all that, after the third and fourth rounds, getting just smashed on, came back and won the fifth round. Now, Volkanovski hit the brakes. He was up pretty much 4-0 at that point. Did he hit the brakes and, not want to get into trouble, not get caught with anything? Because, Ortega was still landing shots. But I think with the Korean Zombie, he looks so good, or Brian Ortega looks so good against the Korean Zombie is because the Korean Zombie is very flat-footed, and you're going to see that. He used to have these nice subtle slips and counters, the Korean Zombie, quicker hands. I just haven't seen that in his last couple of fights, and I don't know that beating Dan Ige means you get a title shot against Volkanovski, who's just been on a fucking roll, and who had his best fight, coming off of his best fight, smashing Ortega like that. So we'll see. We'll get into that whole card. It's a dope card, long card, so we'll get into all that shit. That's it, man. That's all I got for y'all. We hitting the hour mark right now. Will Smith, hold your head. Fucking Chris Rock, get this motherfucker. Go get your motherfucking revenge. Go put some fucking classic shit on wax and perform that shit everywhere you go, and get that shit on Netflix and make sure this motherfucker sees it. That's it. That's all I got. This is the 154th episode, Whiskey Sick Podcast. Like this shit, subscribe to this shit, tell your motherfucking homies to tell their homies. You already know. If we don't got it, you don't want it. For the future quadruple champ, Moody Hank, the Whiskey Sick Podcast, German Shepherd mascot, the future women's triple champ, Sweet Pea, aka Sweetums, aka Little Sweet, the sweet one. For all of us here at the Whiskey Sick Podcast, Seth Geko, Moody Hank, aka Moody motherfucking Hank, and I'm out, motherfucker.